Good morning, Predicted Trade family. Hope we are all doing well. Oh, what a fun day we had yesterday with that FOMC. Gotta say, we pretty much nailed the whole day yesterday. On ES, we talked about holding this zone, holding this daily 8, and pushing off of it and rallying into FOMC. We definitely got that on the indexes and on a number of individual names. Whoop. Sorry, just trying to let folks know that we're live. So, let's see. We got that nice rally in the morning, and then that slow little drift back to VWAP for that 2 p.m. FOMC release. And I gotta say, we did an amazing job in the room, in my opinion. Really? Come on. There we go. We did an amazing job in the room identifying how that reaction was going on FOMC and loading long. We hit the SPX we hit SPX, the 4,000, 4020s, 4025s, 4030s. A number of folks were hitting that to the upside. I can at least say that the 4020s went about 260 to 21 bucks. Good morning, folks. I'm seeing the chat, YouTube chat. And yeah, I mean, the whole room ate off of that move altogether. Great call outs, great trading. So, before we talk about what can happen today, we already kind of had our little review. Let's take a quick look at economic calendar to see what we have coming down the pike today. So we had that FOMC yesterday. This morning, in about 10 minutes, we'll have some GDP data and jobless claims. Kind of expecting some kind of reaction there, right? So let's see what we get, and then on earnings. It has been a big week in earnings. I don't want to maximize it. Yesterday we had Meta, Qualcomm, Lam Research, QuantumScape. This morning we're going to have some healthcare, some travel, MasterCard. And then today, after the bell, Apple, Amazon, Roku, Intel, kind of the last of the big names in tech to report today after the bell. So we'll see how those earnings go. Most of the rest of the earnings have been going pretty decently. And we'll take a look at some of those names that reported last night, like Meta, as we go through. So, today on ES, what can we expect? Oh, MasterCard had a beat. Nice. Yeah, we can take a look at that in a little. So what to expect on ES? We've got a nice 30-minute squeeze to play with here. We'll also have our burger tops and bottoms to use as a range. Ultimately, let's see if we can hold this 30-minute squeeze bottom and this 4,000 level with this daily Keltner at 39.95-ish, right? As long as we can hold and stay above that, we can continue higher. Our daily squeeze is getting very thin, and a good push to it, and maybe even through it, or a close near it, will probably open it up enough to fire our daily squeeze to the upside. It looks like NQ may have already fired, and the ready. So we'll take a look at that. And pretty simple. I mean, you'll notice I don't have any key levels right here, and I kind of do that by design. For me, the next key levels of the target of where we're trying to get to is right up here in this zone. It's also where that second Keltner sits. A lot of times these things will overlap. So if we can get going to the upside, hold 4,000, get through 40.20 and yesterday's high, it's a goal to get to this zone above. I even have another zone right above that at that psychological 4,100. If we lose 4,000 in this daily Keltner, I'd kind of be expecting to come right back to this consolidation that we had midday and that bounce point. Our daily 8 is stepping up ever so slightly near that low bounce point, kind of around 39.70, right? And we have the daily 8 right there. So if we give out this Keltner, this 4,000, likely going to slip back for a little retest of those levels that we were at before FOMC and before we took off. Well, let's look at NQ. Great job on ES and NQ, you know, having this move up and pretty much staying up here. We've seen plenty of FOMCs where it just does a dumb push and then just drifts right back. So, doing a decent job holding up. We are over that 12,500 psychological level, and today that daily Keltner sits there. So, very similar. Let's see if we can hold. Let's see if we can hold that daily Keltner, that 12,500 pre-market low, and that 458. That kind of make a little zone there, right? The Keltner, key level, and that pre-market low to split it makes a nice little zone of support that we should bounce at for continuation. Should we start to lose that zone, same thing, likely back to the daily 8 for a test. But there's plenty of good sentiment and headwind to continue higher. So definitely not. Always expecting any profit taking or pullback, but not like looking to play the downside too heavily. I mean, it can always happen, right? If we give out the daily 8, we're going back to the 21, right? But let's just see if we can hold this nice little zone, head higher, get back to yesterday's high, also kind of Friday's high, right? And with the ultimate goal of trying to get to this next key level up above, which our second Keltner also sits right up there, making a nice little zone. Looks like that daily squeeze is still slightly intact, but potentially in the process of firing, right? So that's what we know on NQ. Oh, come on, don't start slowing down. You're moving so nicely before. There we go. So on the ready, our daily squeeze is disappearing. We ran into it yesterday and we've stayed up enough for it to have opened up and disappeared on this new day that we have. So let's see if ready, after all this consolidation, now that it's popped loose, see if it can continue to the upside. Ultimate goal on the ready, which it looks like it's going to be a little further out of reach, is that 1900. It's a big key level. And, you know, ultimately the goal where I think we're trying to get to, but we do have to take out second Keltner, and that third Keltner is not far above that 1900. But let's see if we can get through yesterday's high, truck on up to that second Keltner, that 1880. And if we start to lose this pre-market low and the squeeze bottom, you know, we can vacuum down just as fast as we went up to refill that, find support, and get going. But that's pretty much why I will have an eye on the Russell today, is if it starts breaking down, since it's done kind of the best of holding up sideways. It's the only index that's green right now. Going to use this as a gauge. If this gives out, then likely the other indexes are also giving out. Go to YM. Teensy gap down. So, YM, you'll notice that key level, 31,800, and how we have just sat at it and sat at it. So, of course, yesterday it was going to be key to move off of it, and they made a nice little drift right into FOMC, and then pushed off of it, even wicking back a couple of times before taking off. Oh, we are close to potentially firing this 4-hour squeeze up into this daily squeeze top. So now that we're up here, let's see if YM can hold this Keltner, this squeeze bottom, and use that as support to continue through yesterday's HOD and further into this daily squeeze top. With, you know, psychological 32,500, and then that second Keltner up at 580. Those would be the targets I'd be looking for it to get to after it clears yesterday's high. If we give out this Keltner and 30-minute squeeze, likely back to the daily 8, which is now above that 31,800. So a nice zone of support. If we can't hold up here and selling pressure takes out buyers, going back down there. Apple. Let's see, Apple, very strong yesterday. And, you know, if you go, I definitely recommend going back and watching prep from yesterday, just so that, so you can see at least what the thesis was and the plan. I'm pretty sure I would have said, if we can hold this daily 8 in this Keltner, we can push off of it up to our zone. That's what we got. And then with FOMC, we push up further past our zone. Come on. All right. We do, oh my goodness, have the daily 200. Not too far away, technically in reach of an ATR. So, Apple could see it's a daily 200. And it could make it today. It will be one of the first tech names to return to the daily 200. For the market, it's still way up above. So let's see on Apple today. Let's see if pre-market low can hold. If we slip that, likely coming back to these key levels in this zone to find support. And if we can get going and start pushing up to this 4-hour squeeze top, we could fire that to the upside with a goal of getting to that daily 200 after we get through yesterday's high. Yep. Noticing UVXY starting to pop a little bit on that economic data release. VIX also starting to catch a little bounce. Once that loads. AMD had a nice day yesterday, got up to the daily 50. I mean, look at these key levels. Tags one, make a little zone there, rejects back to the other for support, and keeps on trucking. So now we're back at that zone with the gap down, and we're trying to hold it. So you can probably already guess, if we can hold this zone, we can continue up through yesterday's high to the next key levels above and the top of this 4-hour squeeze. If we start to give out this zone, it's right back to where we bounced at FOMC and the next key level. Yeah, we're getting some reaction. Wouldn't necessarily say that we're diving on that economic data. On Amazon, another strong name yesterday. Excuse me, tagged its daily 21 and 15 and carried up through the 8 to that first Keltner up. Now that we're back above the daily 8, it'll, likely be falling pretty much in the same spot near that 118. So let's see if we can hold squeeze bottoms, that 118, that daily 8. Move up through pre-market high and yesterday's high to try to keep going. We're only at that first Keltner, so we have that second Keltner up above as the next target. Amazon does report today after the bell, so excuse me, it could just go sideways in the middle of this, or in this 30-minute squeeze, which has, kind of decent range, couple of bucks. So it could just bounce around there, awaiting earnings after the bell. Should that daily 8 start to give out, my next target would be back to these moving averages. They'll be stepping up a little bit to about 117. So let's see what we get on Amazon. BA had decent earnings and decent reaction, but we know how they love to slow fade it on back before getting it again. It's arriving at a trend line. Let's just verify that trend line real quick. Yeah, while we're waiting on that, yeah, like I said, we're not really diving on that data. Just a quick tap of the low and right back up. Alright, so that trend line was bogus. Overall, BA looking a little weak. Definitely want to see it hold the squeeze bottom, start to bounce back above the daily 8 and try to recover some of yesterday. If it continues to slip through squeeze bottom and back to the daily 15 and 21, it can drag the market down a little, unless there are other strong names in that rotation. So, would like to see us hold yesterday's low, squeeze bottom, and start to make that bounce and recover. We don't want BA to get weaker and keep going down. So, well, let's look at cat. I was going to skip it, but it is approaching 190. Yeah, cat finally made it back to the daily 21 and the daily 8, bounced around there yesterday and pushed off. I believe they have earnings next week, so this one might start getting back on the radar. But it's approaching that daily squeeze top. Earnings next week. Wouldn't be surprised, if we hit that daily squeeze and then come back to the 21. We'll see what we get. Google. Yeah, cat has made a nice move. Alright, googly. Reported earnings, tag that daily squeeze bottom, and you get a strong reversal and a strong push yesterday as well. I know a number of folks were hitting Google to the upside, playing those 110s, 112s. Made it back to all of these stacked moving averages. So let's see if Google can continue to hold all of these moving averages and start to push off of them to the upside. With the goal of getting back, to this 115, these recent highs, and that daily Keltner that sits up at about 116. Yeah, nice thing about Google, I see someone said I wish I'd have bought more. Nice thing about Google is she always gives like that week retest and before she gets going again. So I think even yesterday she gave a nice dip post earnings, and folks were loading up their first positions in Google. I know some folks swung it through earnings, but she provides a nice little dips to get back in. So let's see if we can hold that pre-market low. You can see this pre-market low was the earnings high. So great spot to hold as long as we are above 111. Should see a nice continuation. If we start to lose that 111, likely coming back to test that 108. The daily 8 should also be stepping up to about that 111, so we'll have good support there. Let's see, not a ton of interest in GS, but, topped out, made that little drift down to the daily 8, caught that bounce yesterday. Let's see if we can get back through yesterday's high to test this high from Friday. And the next target being that 335, where third Keltner sits, which might be where GS needs to take a break. It could also just reject this 4-hour squeeze top and come back down to the bottom and that daily 8 again. I'm skipping JPM. Let's take a look at Meta. VIX is getting below 23. Man. Meta. Well, pretty much could have predicted, as beat up as this name constantly is. I never have any good news. Looks like they came in a little bit under their estimate. So, down on earnings. But we do have these, 30-minute, 2-hour... that reminds me, let me drop back down. Alright, so dropped on earnings, but only to recent lows and to the bottom of the squeeze, and already trying to ramp a little bit. So even though the reaction was bad, you never know. Meta might hold 160, head back up through pre-market high, which isn't too far from yesterday's low. And if it can get through there, it could make its way back to these moving averages in the top of the squeeze. If we start to take out 160, 159, then likely I'm going to slip down to this daily squeeze at that second Keltner. Come on, Toss. It's like it gets slower with each chart. So Microsoft, great reaction on earnings. It fades right to daily moving averages. Held them and kept on trucking through through the earnings high for a new one. So let's see. Tons of relative strength here in Microsoft. Let's see if it can hold pre-market lows and keep on trucking through pre-market highs, yesterday's highs, to start getting up into this daily squeeze top with that second Keltner as the next target. You know, if it starts to give out pre-market low, we do have this nice trend line. We got below it at one point, but now we're back above it, and we can keep using it as support to keep going. If we give out that trend line, and this consolidation from midday, likely coming right back to moving averages again. Netflix. Up at 226. Netflix definitely been getting love, unlike Meta. Get rid of this. So Netflix already tagged third Keltner, came back to almost get that daily 8 and squeeze bottoms. Now we're at squeeze tops, and they are very close to firing on this 4-hour squeeze. Already seeing some potential relative strength in Netflix pre-market. So let's see if it can hold pre-market low, get trucking through yesterday's high, get up to that 230 psychological level in that daily Keltner, third Keltner up, where it could take a break, it could just keep trucking. If we start to give out that pre-market low, or yesterday's low, midday low before FOMC, and that 220, basically, if we give out that 220, likely coming back to retest the bottom of the squeeze and that daily 8. VIDI. VIDI had a strong day yesterday. And, hopefully everybody can see, even before all the tools get loaded up, like clear trend and why we draw our trend lines. And once we get through trend lines from a downtrend, boom, get a nice upward move. Just like when we're following a trend up and we start to give out that trend line, you get a nice downward move. So, held our daily 8 yesterday, moving higher. Already looking decently strong this morning. Got a little 30-minute squeeze there to work with. And basically that 30-minute squeeze is right at that pre-market low and yesterday's high. Man, looks like we're already trying to push through it. Pre-market, so some relative strength in VIDI. Let's see if it can get through. It could just reject squeeze top and yesterday's high and come back for a retest and reload before going further. Next goal, if we get through this squeeze top yesterday's high, is that next daily Keltner above at 183, and the next one beyond that is like 190. If we give out pre-market low, squeeze bottom. Let's see if we catch a bounce. Same spot we did yesterday, around 172. And if we lose that, then daily 8. Stack moving averages right below. QQQ. Oh, VIDI has a gap fill. My bad, I probably should have gone and pulled that up. But if you look around, there will be a gap on the video. You can mark it. Great call out there, Star. Thank you. On the Qs. Looking decently strong. Looks like everything's green now. Just a little. So, basically gonna be flat around open. So we'll be opening in the middle on the indices, at least. We'll be opening kind of in the middle of our burger top and bottom. So we'll have those as support and resistance. Qs. Close around 306, pretty much there. So on Qs, let's see. I definitely mark this like 304. Because if we have a dip, we could bounce at 304 and head back up. If 304 gives out, watch for that pre-market low test, 303.5. I'm sorry, I said 304. It's really more like 305. Psychological level 2, 305. So let's see if we have a dip at open. Looking for that 305 to hold. If it starts to give out, then that pre-market low. And if that starts to give out, that bounce point from yesterday. And if that gives out, then we'll have that daily 8, which will be likely stepping up. Not too far from that bounce point. So just some targets to the downside if we see some profit taking and start to take out some levels. But if we can hold that 304, 305, stay above it, goal to get through the top of this hourly squeeze, yesterday's high, and up to that next Keltner around 310, and looks like it might step up to be near that 311 key level. So that's kind of the target if we can fire higher. I'm skipping these. Let's go to SPX. So SPX has completely filled this old gap. So I take it away. We do, however, have a gap up from yesterday that sits below back at our daily 8 and our daily 50. They basically comprise the top and bottom of that gap that we created yesterday, with those key levels right in the middle. So you can guess, if we start to look weak and we do see the market and things rolling over, this is where I would expect SPX to magnet right back down to for support. And if that gives out, slip through it to fill it before we head higher, right? But we could easily, let's see, you're going to open a few bucks up. And we're at the top of this daily squeeze. SPX could easily keep on trucking. Let's see if we can hold 4,000. I'd say that's kind of the key. Maybe even Friday's high, around that 40.13. That's where I'd be looking for support if we see a little dip on a bounce, with the goal of trying to get to that 40.62, which lines up with kind of the zone above that we have on ES that we reviewed. And we also have a daily Keltner right there at that 40.60 as well. If we can take those out, next key level up, 41.18, and that next Keltner. SPY. We've got this nice H right here to keep an eye on for support, psychological 400. So basically looking for that, $1 range to hold us if we have a dip. With the goal of trying to get through yesterday's high up to that psychological 405, which is where the next daily Keltner is going to be sitting, although it might step up slightly to say 406. Overall target above is that 410. Got a couple of key levels there. Lines up with ES getting to 4100. So those are the targets I'm watching for the upside. If we can take out 4050, 4060 on ES, and 405 on SPY. Oh, Tesla. Oh, man. Tesla. Take a look at her. She's already up through yesterday's high and carrying. We took out all these price levels. If we have a dip, looking for that 828 to hold. Congrats to those folks that maybe swung their Tesla positions. I know some folks were hitting those 850s yesterday. Hopefully locked some profit, but maybe left some runners because we're almost there. So let's see if that 830 can hold, if we have a dip, or if we just race right up to 850. And next level past that 865, where it looks like that second Keltner is going to be sitting. And the daily 200, right up past that psychological 900. Where's that third Keltner? Am I getting my Keltners mixed up? Oh, I am. Okay, I'm sorry. Whoop. Third Keltner sits up with that 865. So that's kind of the target. We're in a channel. Well, let's see if that channel continues to send us up. And if we tag that third Keltner. Relative strength. One of the only things we looked at, actually, gapping up. Let's see, VIX. And hopefully the meeting going on next door isn't too loud. Oh, VIX. So yesterday I talked about if we're going to see upside, need to reject that daily 8, daily 200. We got that. Look at that, hit a daily Keltner almost at that key level for a teensy bounce and a second rejection to get through that key level. Now we are below it. Let's see if we do have a little dip on the market. Would like to see VIX rejecting 23. That low that it hit yesterday, key, psychological number, that 23. So if we have a little dip in the market, looking for VIX to reject 23 and keep trucking down through 22.5 into this 4-hour squeeze bottom, and then to the daily squeeze bottom, with that second Keltner down at around 21.5. So let's see, last time we hit 22.5, we caught a bounce. Let's see if we get that again, catching a bounce, sending us through 23 and higher, back to moving averages. That would mean the market is rolling over. We've got a nice channel here on VIX. Let's see if the channel just carries us down and allows the market to keep going up. Should we start to break out of the channel and 23, kind of our first signs that we could see the market roll back. So hopefully this was helpful for everybody. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to Predicted Trades, or if this is your first time, you can join our Discord server for free. And every Thursday is kind of our free day. We invade our free chat section with all of our paid subscribers, and we give you at least a preview of what it's like in our service every single Thursday, so that you can actually use our system, take trades with our traders, make money with us before you even join. You never know, you might just take some trades with us that cover your first couple of months of subscribing to Predicted Trades. So, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys in the chat today. Everybody's invited. And yeah, good point. Crypto Knight, please smash that like button. We'll see you guys in chat. Good luck today.